Hey guys, Will here. So today we're going to be taking a look at SimCore's Z1/Simhub dashboard. So this is based upon a USBD480 LCD panel, which is a really popular panel amongst DIYers. And I want to sort of say up front that there are plenty of cheaper options than this available on the market. This is very much a high-end product with a high-end price, but the quality, as you'll see in this video, is very, very high. Now, I also just want to quickly mention as well that I'm calling this an overview video rather than a review video. The reason for that being that I've been so impressed with this product over the last couple of weeks that I've been testing it, that SimCore and I have agreed to go into a bit of a partnership with this product, and we're going to be doing some boosted media editions of this. And this is what we have in front of us here today. So I'll be showing you through that as well. Now, basically, this is going to be an option that's available to you guys who would like to have the boosted media branded version. It comes with the boosted media splash screen, which you can change yourself later on if you want, as well as some custom etching on the back as well. Now, basically, the arrangement here is it doesn't cost you anything. You just select that version when you choose the product in the store, and a small commission comes back to me to help out with the channel. So I just wanted to be upfront about that before we get started on today's video. But as you guys know, I only go into partnerships with brands that I trust 100% and that I would recommend 100% anyway. But just keep that in the back of your mind. But yeah, as I was saying, the USBD480 LCD is a really popular screen because it's powered and fed data via a USB port. Now, those of you who have used HDMI or DisplayPort or maybe even VGA connections for your little screens for dashes may have come across a few issues. Now, one of those issues is it takes up an additional port on your graphics card. It also adds additional system resource requirement to the graphics card as well. So that can take away a few frames per second. Now, that's not to say that this doesn't, but that's something that we'll have a look at a little bit later on as well. But generally speaking, using a USB connection, most of the processing is actually happening on board the display itself rather than, you know, the requirement from the graphics card. So that is an advantage. It also has the advantage of not lowering your refresh rate. So often you might have, say, 3 displays connected to your graphics card and they're all 120 Hertz, for example. But as soon as you connect a display which is a lower native refresh rate, it drops the refresh rate of all your other screens as well, and it makes it impossible to raise it back up again. Now, that's not a problem for everybody. It does depend on what's called the EDID data for the individual screens. So I'm certainly not saying that it's going to be, you know, a across the board issue, but the USBD480 LCD screen does away with that issue entirely, frees up an extra connection for another monitor as well, should you wish to use that. So that's the reason why this particular display is so popular. So what SimCore have done here is basically take that LCD screen and put it in their own custom design 6061 aluminium billet enclosure, which they've designed themselves, put a nice high quality connection on there as well, which we'll take a look at in just a moment too, and basically just turned it into a really well refined product that you can just pick up off the shelf if you're not the DIY type. So you can absolutely find cheaper versions of enclosures with the USBD480 screen in them, or you can even 3D print yourself something. There's plenty of designs available on Thingiverse, but if you want something that looks really well refined, really high end, and something that's sort of going to make you smile every time you get into your sim rig, this is going to be a product for you. So yeah, just be aware that there are plenty of cheaper options on the market. We have actually done a video previously as well where I showed you how to create a dashboard using an old smartphone, and that is something that a lot of people will have laying around as well. So that's another option that you can check out. I'll put a link in the description below for you as well for that. But I think that pretty much covers everything we need to begin with. So let's take a look at the product in a little bit more detail here. Okay, so there are quite a few different configuration options available here. So I'll quickly run you through the web page now and explain what all those are. So we have a touchscreen and a non-touchscreen version available, and I will take you through the functionality that the touchscreen gives you a little bit later on in the video as well. We have 3 or 4 rather basic color options here. So we've got black, red, blue, and gold. Obviously, this is the black version. We do also, if you scroll down, have the option for custom color coding as well. So if you want to do a custom color, you can do that. And then we have the option for the boosted media edition. So you guys are going to want to tick yes, of course. You don't have to do that. So if you go for the non-boosted media edition, exactly the same price. It just doesn't have the boosted media branding on it. Comes with the standard SimCore splash screen, and I don't receive the little commission. The carbon fiber mounts, which are required. So there's a couple of different options here. We have the Fanatic CSL Elite, CSW2 and 2.5, and DD1 and DD2 mount. And that is the one that's obviously mounted on here at the moment. So that allows us obviously to mount directly to the holes that are provided on those wheelbases, and then it screws into the back of the CNC machined housing. Simple as that. Then we have the SimuCube 2 version. So again, 4 screw holes to go into the back plate of the CNC machined housing. And then these two holes line up with the mounting holes on the SimiCube 2 or Midge wheelbase. Then we have a aluminium profile mount as well. So this again has the 4 screw holes, so you can see to go on the back of the housing, and then 2 slots to screw onto aluminium profile. We then have the option for the UM1 motor mount as well, which is SimCore's motor mount, which we reviewed a couple of weeks ago. So you can check that out. Put a link above my head for you if you want to see what that's all about. And then we have this handy little option as well, which allows us to mount it directly to a 70mm stud pattern on the wheel itself. So if you want to mount the dash directly to your wheel rather than your wheelbase, that is an option as well, provided you have a 70mm stud pattern on your wheel. And all of these mounts are 3mm genuine carbon fiber as well. They're really sturdy, really stiff, and you know, unless you punch it or something like that, unless you do something really dumb, you're not going to break this. So those are all good. Now the last little option here as well, cable connector position. Now this is important depending on exactly how you intend to mount this. I've gone for the lower position. There is also the option to mount it on the back of the unit as well. Now basically this isn't something that you can do yourself. You would have to desolder the connection and then resolder it if you wanted to move it later on. So just let George know at SimCore when you place your order which position you want. What I would personally recommend is if you're going to be mounting it on a wheelbase, probably go with the bottom mount, simply because that allows a little bit more clearance behind the unit to get your screens closer. A lot of people like to have the screens pretty much right behind the wheel, and you would have to account for the thickness of the cable and also risk the cable bashing into your screens and potentially damaging, giving you dead pixels or a big line down the middle of the screen, something like that. So bottom, if you're going to be mounting it on a wheelbase. If you're going to be mounting it on your wheel itself, then the rear position might be better for you depending on the wheel. But do just think that one through before you place your order, because it is a little bit tricky to change it later on. You will need to have some skills with a soldering iron to do that yourself. So let's talk about the LCD panel itself in a little bit more detail. We already talked about the advantages of USB over an HDMI or DisplayPort or VGA connection, but the display itself is a 4.3-inch TFT display, 480 by 272 pixels. So not the highest resolution in the world, and certainly lower resolution than your smartphone that you might have been using as a dash previously. But by most accounts, you'll find most people will say that this is perfectly sufficient in terms of resolution for the intended purpose that we're using here. You know, you don't need a super high resolution screen, you know, to run a dash basically. Now, being a TFT display, viewing angle is a little bit funny as well. You'll find if you tilt it around, you probably won't be able to see it on the camera here, but if we tilt it around and up and down as well, you'll see the colors do get a little bit distorted. It goes a little bit sort of pinkish as we move off center. But again, being a dashboard, you're going to be looking straight at it anyway, so not really a problem. Even on the wheel as you're rotating it, it's not really a problem at all. It's only if you're kind of moving from side to side or up and down and looking down and changing your viewing angle to the panel itself that becomes a bit of an issue. But just something that I wanted you guys to be aware of for the sake of completeness as well. But you'll get to see a little bit more of that in just a moment when we get it hooked up to the PC and show you how the dash software works. So the housing itself, as I mentioned before, 6061 billet aluminium, and it is absolutely beautiful finish. No sharp edges anywhere, really, really smooth bevels, and yeah, it really does look and feel like a really high quality product, which it ought to for the price, of course. But yeah, it's definitely something that you will admire every single time you get into your rig. Now, just before we move on to the software side of things, I just want to quickly highlight the USB connection here as well, because this is a really nice quality connector. And you guys will remember when we reviewed the V-Box a couple of weeks ago, I kind of geeked out over the Limo connectors that they were using on that, which are ridiculously expensive connectors. Now, these aren't quite of the same caliber as the Limo connectors. They don't need to be for a sim rig. They don't need to be waterproof or, you know, temperature resistant or anything like that. Those connectors really were overkill for a sim rig. But what we do have here is a nice floating connection. You can see there is a little bit of movement in there, but the pin assembly itself is a floating design, meaning that when this moves around, it's not putting any tension on the pins. So you don't need to worry about broken pins or anything like that. Now, it has a key design as well, so you can't plug it in the wrong way. Clicks into position nicely, and that is not going anywhere. The cable itself is, of course, shielded and 4mm thick as well. So nice high quality cable. And just to quickly show you here, we'll unplug it. The cable is nice and long at 1.2 meters. My arm's going to be out of the frame there, but trust me, 1.2 meter long cable, so plenty long enough to reach back to your USB hub that you've got everything else on your rig plugged into. So yeah, let's move on to the software side of things. We'll show you how to calibrate it up in both Z1 dashboard as well as Simhub. Simhub being free, of course, or donationware, Z1 requiring a license. But we'll show you the features and benefits of both, and then go for a drive. So we've got the dash mounted up on my rig now using the UM1 bracket on my SimiCube 2 Ultimate. Now, whenever we have power applied, as we mentioned before, you'll see this splash screen. You can change the splash screen. Topic for another video. It's pretty simple to do, but beyond the scope of this video, you can just flash whatever bitmap image you want. If you buy the Boosted Media Edition one, you'll get the Boosted Media Limited Edition screen. If you buy just the normal SimCore version, you'll get the SimCore logo on the screen. Now, the first thing that we need to do on the PC side of things is jump in and download the Z1 LCD screen driver. So you'll want to head over to z1simwheel.com/downloads. I'll put the link in the description below for you guys as well. And then you want to download Z1 screen drivers for either Windows 10, 8, or 7, obviously depending on your version. So we're going to click on that. We're going to download it and simply just install it as you would any other executable file. And that will get everything installed to get the USBD480 display talking to your PC. Now, as previously mentioned, there are a couple of different software packages that you can use to drive this display as well. We're going to be focusing on Simhub today as well as Z1 Dashboard. So you can go ahead and download the Z1 Dashboard software while you're in here as well if you wish to do so. Just be aware that there is a license fee involved with Z1 Dashboard. So if you do want to go ahead with that, you will be up for a small license fee. It is very, very good value software though. I've been testing it out for a couple of days now and extremely impressed with how powerful it is. And I will do a separate review where I'll take you through all the features of the Z1 software dash. But for the scope of this video, we'll just skim through quickly and give you a basic overview of exactly what's possible with this dash. So Simhub is probably my favorite piece of sim racing software. It does everything from running button boxes, gauges. I've got it running my wind sim as well, telemetry logging, you know, a massive range of things, and I definitely recommend checking it out. There is a free version that runs at a slightly lower refresh rate. If you want the full refresh rate, you do need to make a small donation, but honestly, it is well worth the money. Now, you can see as soon as I open it up, the dash fired into action immediately, but there is a little bit of configuration that you'll need to do the first time you use the display. So let's jump into Nexian display. So if it doesn't automatically detect the correct COM port, just make sure you choose the correct COM port from the drop-down list. And then if you click over on Dash Studio, this gives you a bunch of pre-made dashes which are already built into the Simhub software. You can also create your own dashboards as well, so we'll have a quick look at that. And then that opens up the Dash Studio screen, so we can add text if we want to, we can add images, you know, you can do a whole bunch of stuff here, digital gauges as well, so we can have a gauge for, say, fuel level. You get the idea here, analog gauges too. So really you can just let your creativity run wild here. We'll hit save when we're done, and then we should see it in our list here. So if we go down here, click on start on USBD480 screen, and there is the dash that we just created being displayed on our screen. But we don't really want that crappy one, we want a nicer one. So quickly jumping into iRacing now to give you a bit of a demonstration, but this is compatible with most sim titles. So Project Cars 2, F1, Assetto Corsa, Competizione, you name it. Pretty much everything is compatible with the titles that we're gonna be looking at. So just check their respective websites for full compatibility. So we're sitting in the pits here in iRacing. I'll just quickly go through here and show you exactly what we have on the screen. So we've got our rev gauge there, which you can see go up and down, our gear indicator here. So when we go through the gears, you can see that change as well, neutral and first. We've got our lap number, position, we've got tire temperatures, tire wear, we've got our ABS, bias, traction control settings as well, DRS indicator. And as you can imagine, the sky's the limit here, so you really can change this and make this whatever you want. But we can also thumb through pages here as well using the touchscreen. So we tap on the side, you see we've got a track map now. We've got sector times, track map again, previous versus last lap times as well, driver ahead, delta, driver behind, delta, and then we tap again to get back to tire wear. So really genuinely useful information that you can get up on the screen here using Simhub. So let's go for a little bit of a drive here. I'll just show you quickly how it kind of looks in action. So get out of the pits, we've got a speed indicator there as well. We go through. So the touchscreen is genuinely useful here, but what I would just caution you guys is, of course, if you're using a direct drive wheel, then you do need to be a little bit careful. If you're reaching through, particularly with a GT style wheel, if you're reaching through while you're driving, and you know, there's a chance that the wheel could whip around and really do some damage to your hand. I actually saw a picture posted on Facebook the other day of a guy who tore his finger. I won't post a picture of it because it was pretty gruesome, but he literally gashed his finger really badly and done some permanent nerve damage as well. So just be careful if you are mounting it, like I've got this one mounted here. Make sure that you're not reaching through a wheel while you're driving to touch things, because that could be very dangerous. You can of course use hotkeys as well on your button box or on your wheel to go through the pages, but yeah, you do have the touchscreen option there should you wish to use it. So that pretty much covers SimHub. Let's have a look now at Z1 dashboard. So honestly, Z1 dashboard actually took me by surprise. I had no idea of the level of functionality that this has. So again, similar kind of dash here. You can see at the moment we're simulating the Porsche Cayman dash exactly as it is on the car. We've again got our gear indicator. We've got oil temperature, water temperature, everything that you would have on the real car. And again, we can tap on the screen and go through a bunch of different screens here. Now this is where I feel the potential of this dash is really unleashed. So we've got a track map again. We've got timing and fuel indicators, and this software can also allow you to control fuel levels and stuff like that too. A little bit beyond the scope of today's video, but the options are there to do so if you wish to do so. So lap timing information here, fuel levels again. We've got all sorts of telemetry here. We've got RPM, throttle position, tire temperatures, tire wear, longitudinal and lateral G-force as well. Have a little look at that as we drive actually, because that's kind of cool. So, I mean, that's not particularly useful, but it's a cool little thing to have there. You can see as I turn from side to side, the gauge is moving. Keep going through here. Another configuration of information. Lap times as well, so this is really useful for if you're doing, you know, time attack or something like that. Trying to do some practice getting some good lap times. Keep going here and back to the main screen. But let me just take you through into the software side of things, because there's some really cool things that you can do there as well. So we'll jump back out into the pits quickly. And when we're in the pits, you can see we have this sort of engineering display, like what the real drivers would have on their displays, like you see in the Formula One, for example. And we've got a little burger menu here that we can tap on the screen. And that brings up statistics, so that's what we're looking at now. You can see the weather's scrolling across the bottom there too. We've got notes, so we can add notes for, you know, car setup, things like that. This is completely arbitrary, so you can set up whatever you want there. Lap information, obviously we didn't complete any laps, but if we had, you'd have the sector times scrolling down there, and you can scroll through as well. So you can see as I go from side to side, we get the different sectors show up. So sector 1 through sector 6. Standings, so race positions or race standings. Track map, and then a couple of other options here as well that we don't really need to go into for the scope of this video. But let's jump across back onto the PC for a moment quickly. I want to show you a few more options that are available just to give you an idea of just how far this software goes. So this is by no means an exhaustive review of Z1 dashboard. I'm going to do a separate video where we go through all of this in detail once I've had much more time to really sort of get stuck into it. But this is a project that's been going on for almost a decade now. And honestly, it's absolutely blown me away just how much you can do with this software. It even has a network streaming option as well. So you can have your spotter or trainer or somebody like that log in and actually watch your data in real time as if they had your dash in front of them as well, which is really cool. But that's not really part of the scope of this video. Let's quickly click on car 2 here. And you can see, again, we've got options to configure the dash completely, so we can set things up however we'd like them. By default, for each car configuration, we've got 6 different screens, but we can add to that as well, should we wish to do so. And then this is the cool part. We've got a massive selection of different dashes here that we can choose from. We've got the 718 Cayman GT4 dash selected at the moment, as you know. We've got a different option there as well. And look, just scrolling down here, we're not going to go through them all, obviously, now for the scope of this video, but this gives you an idea of the sheer scope of what we have available in here. And as I said, this is a decade-old project now that's been going on and being added to constantly. So we've got a live practice session going here now in iRacing. You can see the positions of the other cars around the track as we go. And this is what we're talking about with that sort of statistics screen and how it can be useful in the pits when you're preparing for a session. So lap information, standings. So here we go. These are the different guys that are out on the track at the moment and their standings. Now, interestingly, because this is a resistive touchscreen rather than a capacitive touchscreen, it does work with gloves on as well. Even areas of the gloves that aren't designed for capacitive touchscreens, you can see works there with ease. Absolutely no issue whatsoever. So what I am finding, I thought at first that the touchscreen wouldn't really be necessary, but I am finding it to be extremely useful in reality. All right, so we'll quickly head out of the pits here. Now you can see at the moment I've got it locked, so it'll sit on this display while we're in pit lane, and then when we come out it goes to our normal display. So let's quickly tab through here. All the same screens that we showed you before, but what I've done now with this screen 7, you can see here we've got a driver ahead on track, the name, the type of car that they're in, driver behind as well. But the really cool thing here is I'm going to crash because I'm looking all over the place. is it actually shows their position and their I rating as well. So you can see if the guy behind you has got a really low I rating, he's likely to hit you, or the guy in front, you can see how much better he is than you theoretically. So you know whether you're likely to be able to challenge him, or whether you should risk an overtake, or it gives you a little bit more information, and it's real information that's genuinely useful while you're driving. So one of the things I thought with the dash is that it might be a little bit gimmicky. It might not be particularly useful in the real world, but just pull off to the side here because we are in a live practice session. I don't want to get in anybody's way. But yeah, what I've found is that it gives you all this genuinely useful information that actually adds to the driving experience, and makes you a better driver, which is something that I wasn't really expecting out of a dashboard. So again, by no means an exhaustive review of the Z1 dashboard software, but this should give you a good idea at least of some of the things that are possible with the Z1 dashboard software and the SimCore dash. So that is the Z1/SimHub dashboard from SimCore. So if you want to pick one of these up, simcore.com.au. And if you do have any further questions, feel free to let me know in the comments below if you think I've skimmed over anything or anything you'd like more detail on. You can also hit me up in the Boosted Media Discord community as well if that's more your thing. Link is in the description below for that as well. But leave a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video. Make sure you're subbed, hit the notification bell too so you don't miss future videos. We've got some really exciting hardware reviews coming up over the next couple of weeks. Companies that have been sort of holding off for a long time because of the whole pandemic thing are starting to ramp up production again now. So we've got a bunch of stuff in the pipeline. So a really great time to get subbed. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.